The Chrysath Dominion had conquered 11,000 worlds without losing a single war. Their method was simple. Arrive in orbit. Demand tribute. If refused, glass the surface from space and move to the next system. No negotiation. No mercy. No exceptions. So when their fleet dropped out of warp above Earth, Fleet Marshal Osric Vane expected the usual outcome. Fear. Compliance. Another quiet conquest to add to the ledger. He did not expect silence. No panicked broadcasts. No scrambling defense grid. No pleading transmissions from frightened diplomats. Just Earth, blue and calm, spinning beneath his warship as if his 300 vessels weren't even there. Send the demand, Osric ordered. The message went out in Earth's own languages, translated by his ship's cultural database. Submit tribute of resources, technology, and 1 million citizens for labor service, or your capital will be destroyed within the hour. The response came back in less than a minute. Not from a president, not from a general, from a single human voice, calm and almost bored. You're surrounded, Osric laughed. A human threatening a Dominion war fleet was like a mouse threatening a wildfire. Display tactical, he ordered. The view screen flickered, and his laughter died in his throat. They were surrounded. Not by ships, by silence. Every sensor sweep came back wrong. Every scan returned static where solid readings should have been. And then, one by one, across the dark between Earth and its moon, human vessels began decloaking. Hundreds of them, sleek black hulls that had been sitting motionless in the void for who knew how long, watching, waiting, patient as predators in tall grass. Impossible, Osric whispered. Our sensors would have detected ships that wanted to be detected, the human voice replied. We've had 300 years to study patience, Fleet Marshal. You've had 300 years to study conquest. Let's see which one served us better. Osric had studied 1,000 species in his career. Every one of them, when faced with overwhelming force, fell into predictable patterns. Terror, bargaining, desperate last stands that ended in tears and fire. Humans, he was beginning to understand, did not read the same book. He ordered a probing strike, a single squadron meant to test their resolve, to make them flinch and reveal their true numbers. The squadron didn't come back. Not destroyed. Redirected. His sensors showed the 12 fighters drifting gently off course, their weapon systems dark, their crews unharmed but locked out of every control on their own ships. We didn't fire a single shot, the human voice explained, almost gently. We just asked your ships very nicely to stop. That is not possible, Osric snarled. No technology can override Dominion combat systems without cooperation from someone who already knew your systems inside and out? Pause. You've been buying processing components from a trade consortium for the last 40 years, Fleet Marshal. Did you ever wonder who actually built them? Osric's blood ran cold. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the bridge of the Patience, watching the Dominion fleet's formation begin to fracture into confused, uncoordinated clusters. Around her, her crew worked in near silence. No shouting, no panic, just quiet competence born from decades of preparation for exactly this moment. They're trying to jam our communications, her tactical officer reported. Let them try, Elena said. Every network they're using to coordinate that jamming was designed with our components. We've had backdoors in Dominion tech since before most of this crew was born. A young ensign, barely out of training, looked up from her console. Commander, shouldn't we just attack? While they're confused. Elena shook her head, and there was something almost sad in the gesture. We're not here to kill them, Ensign. We're here to show them something they've never seen before. What's that? A species that doesn't need to burn a world to prove it's strong. Aboard the flagship, Osric watched his tactical officers scramble to regain control, watched his once invincible fleet reduced to drifting confusion by an enemy that hadn't fired a single weapon. Panic, that ancient and universal language, was spreading through his crew. Orders, Fleet Marshal? His second-in-command asked, voice tight. Osric stared at the screen, at Earth, at the swarm of human vessels that had appeared like ghosts from nowhere, patient sentinels who had clearly been waiting, not for this specific invasion, but for any invasion, preparing, watching, studying every species that passed through their system, learning their technology, their weaknesses, their patterns, waiting to see who would be foolish enough to test them. They could have destroyed us the moment we arrived, Osric murmured almost to himself. They let us send our demand. They let us feel powerful for exactly as long as it took to demonstrate how meaningless that power was. Sir, open a channel, Osric said quietly. Direct. Fleet Marshal to Fleet Marshal, or whatever you call your commander. The human voice returned. This is Commander Reyes. I'm listening. Why? Osric asked, and for the first time in his career, the question wasn't rhetorical. You could destroy us. You've proven that. Why show restraint? Why not simply eliminate the threat? There was a pause. When Reyes spoke again, her voice had lost its edge, replaced by something that sounded almost like sympathy. Because 11,000 worlds have learned to fear you, Fleet Marshal. We could teach you fear too. We could burn your fleet and send the wreckage home as a warning. Another pause. But that's your method, not ours. Then what is your method? We're going to let you leave, Reyes said. Every ship, every soldier, intact. And you're going to go back to your superiors and tell them what you saw here. Not a massacre, not a victory parade, just restraint. A species that could have destroyed you and chose not to. Why would that matter more than victory? Because fear fades, Fleet Marshal. But the memory of an enemy who showed you mercy when they didn't have to? That memory lasts forever. And it spreads faster than any warning you could ever send. The Dominion fleet withdrew that day, battered not by weapons but by understanding. Osric Vane returned to his superiors not with tales of conquest, but with a warning they had never heard before. That somewhere in the dark, there existed a species who had mastered every weapon they possessed, and had chosen, again and again, not to use them. Word spread across 1,000 worlds. Not of Earth's power, though that was considerable, but of something rarer, something almost extinct in a galaxy built on conquest. Restraint, patience, mercy freely given by those who had every right to withhold it. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human.